Hi guys, I'm here in San Francisco. This is China Beach. And as you can see, the Golden Gate Bridge is right over there. And I'm just going to have a little interview with my couchsurfing host, Sam. He's actually living the 4-hour work week lifestyle, more or less. He has a couple of businesses, and I would just like to hear him out on how he got his businesses running up, what is his philosophy behind it, and just pick his brain a little. So yeah, just come on in the frame whenever you feel like. So as we were saying before, how did you kind of like get into living the 4-hour work week kind of life? Just pass it along.
Sure. I had originally had a regular 9 to 5 job. I worked that for a few years after graduating from university. It was only after visiting a friend who had told me that he looked in his office and saw people who were 20 years older than he was and realized how miserable they were. And he says, I didn't want to be that way in 20 years. And I was like, you know what, you're right. I don't want to be that way either. And so I just started finding kind of things that sparked my interest outside of what I was working on and related to it in a way.
What kind of job were you doing then?
At the time, I was working as in architecture, as an architecture firm. It's a fun job, but it was also very corporate environment. You have to clock in, you have 2 weeks of vacation time and all that jazz. And so one day I saw in the news about this guy who was living in a dumpster for a year, as he was a university professor, and he was doing it on purpose.
What was his name?
His name's Jeff Wilson, also known as Professor Dumpster. I'm sure if you Google search that. He received a lot of media attention for willingly going into live in a dumpster to show how wasteful our lifestyles are, and to show how you can live your life minimally and completely and fully. And so after that year was up, I reached out to him and said, hey, I like what you're doing, let's hang out, let's grab drinks. And we became friends eventually. And after having a few drinks and hanging out for a few months, he just said, hey, I've been wanting to do something related to building tiny houses and micro homes. I think we could really turn this into a really cool business opportunity. And so with that, I quit my job, and he and I, grabbed a couple other people to join our team. We just started we started going around and asking investors to help finance our ideas. It sounds like I just flippantly asked for investors. Of course, before we got there, we compiled business plans and all that. But over time, that business took off and succeeded, and it's continued to do well so far. We're still raising money. But I was able to quit my 9 to 5 and live fully for myself, and still put a lot of time and effort into the business. But once the business did well enough, I was able to reduce my time and role and the overall business operations, and start to subsidize my own experiments and my own other ideas that I wanted. And so now I'm doing 2-3 hours a day of work sometimes less, sometimes more. But it's really, the key for me is freedom. I could do it when I want. I could wake up when I want. And now, sometimes I still have to go to meetings or do other things if I want to keep my particular brand going. But I think there are other businesses where even you don't have to do that. You can just do everything without having to go to meetings, and just build your own product, within your room if you want to, and not leave it if you want to, even though that's not healthy and not recommended. So it's been a great 2 years of being free. And I moved to San Francisco not too long ago to kind of help with networking and to continue to build the businesses that I have. And it's been really great so far.
Okay. And could you go a little bit deeper in the emotion and the feelings of the moment right before you decided to meet up with the professor, and what got you there, and how were you scared, and how did you feel about all that?
Well, in the lead up to that, I wasn't really that nervous. If anything, I actually had emailed him and said that I want to meet up with him under the guise of me writing a blog post saying that I'm writing a blog on tiny houses. I would love to come take photos of the place and we could talk about it and I can interview you.
And were you actually writing a blog?
I was planning on it. I mean, if he was just going to be my first one, then.
Cool.
But then we started to be really candid with each other, and we really hung out. Our very first time hanging out, actually, after for my blog interview, he took me to his dumpster, took photos, and then eventually he was just like, hey, let's just go hang out and walk around someplace. So we went to around the university, and he started showing me all of these hidden spaces in the university that he likes, that he knows about, and he hides inside of, and in a group we're climbing into attics of these old historic buildings, and
Wow.
it was really fun. And so that adventure really helped us bond, and that was our first day of meeting each other, and we became friends over that moment. And of course, having a bit of drinking a little bit after that helped a little bit too. But it was all well. I didn't have any sense of nervousness. I just thought that I had to come to a table with something before meeting with them, saying that I was promising to write him a blog or to, promote him. But now I realize that it's one of the biggest lessons I learned that year was it's okay to ask people and to reach out to people, email people that you think inspire you, because chances are they're a big celebrity to you, but they're not the biggest celebrity in the world. They have time for you if you can really, show that you're interested and earnest and learning from them. They're willing to help you out. I wouldn't go into a situation looking to look like you're just wanting to use them or just to make a connection, a surface level connection. But if you can be very, very honest and really seeing that you want to learn and help them help you, you'll find that most people in these high level positions or low level positions, but people that you admire, they're willing to give you some time and hang out, and you never know, you may become friends with them and start a business with them someday.
Cool. So that's amazing, first of all, but it kind of like seems to come down to really being down to earth kind of person and not having too much expectations or trying to do too much, but more just, would you say you were following your gut or your heart, or how did that kind of
Well, I will say that sometimes it is important to be fearless. A lot of people they let their fear consume them and prevent them from really doing what they want to do, because they think there's always something that could go wrong. And trust me, there is always something that could go wrong, but you're eliminating all the good things that can happen too. And so I would say I followed my gut, but I also think that there wasn't really out of character, or the moment that led up to me reaching out to people wasn't really a big decision for me. It was just easy. Like, what's the worst that can happen? He says no, right?
Yeah.
And I move on to the next thing that I want to work on. I literally had nothing to lose, and I apparently had a lot to gain from reaching out and asking to hang out. And so that also applies to meeting up with people you want to invest in your company and your ideas. If you're not just looking for work, or you're not looking for someone a client or customer, you're looking for someone to help you build something.
Yeah.
And people are willing to at least give you the time of day to talk about things and to explain it, and much more willing to help finance things or help you in other ways once it's clear that you have something to bring to the table. Even if it's just an idea, that's a good idea.
Okay. And so this whole lifestyle to me right now seems like a fairy tale. What would you say the pros but also the cons are of this kind of freedom lifestyle?
Well, I guess it's my responsibility to start off with all the negative stuff so that you can hear the best for last. I would think there's definitely a sense of instability when it comes to finances, and that sounds terrifying. But especially if you live in a very wealthy nation or a good society, there are so many ways for you to fail but not be destitute or to not be poor. And so I was willing to take those risks, but the feeling of not knowing exactly if you're going to have enough to pay for rent next month is probably, risky, but I think in the end it evens out a lot, because that's still up to you entirely. Because the good thing is, you have a lot of freedom and flexibility, and you have all the time in the world to pursue these things, especially if you don't have a family, of course. You can use this time to build something, and you have 24 hours in a day. If you want to sleep in every day and to go surfing for a few hours, that's fine, and you still have time in your day to do other things to build your business. But you also could spend less time, doing some leisure things if you really think that, that you're not sure if you're going to be stable financially. So the whole point of this is to be free, and with freedom comes inherent risk. But I would say that was the worst feeling I ever got, was just not being sure if I was doing this, if this was going to pay off financially. And it sounds like a really, really big thing, but in reality, I think it pales into comparison to the benefits that I receive from taking such risk. And if you have a good plan, a good idea, the ability to wake up in the morning, or wake up whenever you want to wake up. If you want to wake up in the afternoon and just work all night, that's, no one's stopping you. If you want to take 2 weeks randomly and decide to go on a road trip or to go travel across the world, and still work on your product, because you can work online or remotely or something like that, you can do that. You don't have to answer to anyone. And so, and also it helps. It's kind of a little joke, but a lot of times people don't like doing, you don't have to worry about rush hour traffic. You don't have to worry about going to a grocery store when it's crowded, or going to bars and nightlife when there's no one else there, because you get to do things when everyone else is not doing their thing. So you can go shopping, you can go, enjoy surfing when no one else, when the beaches aren't crowded, because everyone else is doing their 9-to-5 thing. You can start to live your life and have a, low stress sort of environment, outside of that. And that's one of the things I really enjoyed about being free and being an entrepreneur.
Cool. Okay, well, let's wrap it up with that. Thank
Sure.
you very much for this short interview.
Yeah, happy to be here.